I was somehow lucky enough to receive an invitation to the Dawntrail media tour, where I was given the opportunity to test out the level 100 iterations of all 21 of the game's jobs. In order to make sure you can get all the information you want quickly, I've sectioned each of my media tour videos into 3 sections. Firstly comes the changes and additions, including tooltips. Then I will talk more in depth on how I feel about the jobs. It's here that I'll talk about the various little bits and pieces that I tested, how this will shift their playstyle, and give you a bit of a primer of exactly what to expect going into the next expansion. Lastly, at the end of the video, I will have a full list of the jobs tooltips from the media tour build, including traits. Do please bear in mind that what I played was a development build, and it's totally subject to change, especially potencies, so don't take this as a final product, but it can be very useful to see intention and direction from the developers. Additionally, I had very limited time to test everything, and our play session was at like 400 ping due to needing to route the server access through North America, then all the way to Japan. So what you're going to be seeing from me is definitely not peak gameplay. My apologies, I did the best I could with what we had access to. Dark Knight got quite a few small changes to both their blood gauge economy and burst windows, as well as a really cool new finisher. Blood Weapon and Delirium have been merged. Now Delirium is an upgraded version of Blood Weapon, and they share the effects of both. This means that as a consequence, you only get 3 stacks of the increased blood gauge generation effect rather than the previous 5. Delirium also grants you access to a brand new combo rather than the 3 blood spillers it did before. Scarlet Delirium, Comeuppance and Torque Cleaver make up this 3-hit combo, and they are actually stronger than Delirium used to be because they are 500, 600 and 700 potency respectively. For AoE, Quietus upgrades to Impalement. Esteem is now free to use, no longer requiring 50 blood gauge, and after you use it, you gain a GCD combo button from it in the form of Disesteem, your level 100 capstone ability. This one does 800 potency of damage and becomes your new strongest hit, and upon unlocking it, your Esteem's Carve and Spit hit within the Living Shadow window also changes to Disesteem. Shadow Wall upgrades to Shadowed Vigil, increasing its mitigation percentage from 30 all the way up to 40. It also gains the unique secondary effect of restoring 1200 potency of HP when you fall below the 50% health mark, or when the buff runs out. It's essentially a free excogitation. This new secondary effect lasts for 20 seconds as well, which makes it a little bit longer than the base 15 seconds the initial cooldown lasts for. Plunge is removed from the game entirely, and in its place you have Shadow Strike. This is a potency-free gap closer with 2 charges that can be used to dash to enemies. As a note, this one says dash to enemies, whereas Thunderclap allows you to dash to enemies or party members. I hope that this changes from the media tour build through to live though, personally. Dark Knight received a bunch of potency buffs on their GCDs to help bring them in line with the upgrades other jobs got. The Reprisal had its duration extended from 10 to 15 seconds, and Rampart gains an additional secondary effect on every tank that increases HP recovery via healing actions on self by 15%. So if we look at things on the whole, Dark Knight burst windows became a little less weave intensive because you no longer need to press Blood Weapon or the 2 charges of Plunge within them, so it makes it a lot more easy to perform on the whole. The damage of your burst has also gone up quite a lot thanks to Disesteem and the Delirium combo becoming stronger. Whilst your blood generation on the whole has technically gone down just a bit, you lose 20 blood per minute because of the blood weapon changes, but now you no longer need to spend blood to access Living Shadow, which means that it ends up a net gain of 10 every 2 minutes. Essentially, your blood generation has changed as little as it possibly could, while still making the job more accessible and implementing the changes that Square Enix wanted to. I feel like I'd really like to see Shadow Strike adjusted by launch, because the reason I like this style of gap closer is specifically because of the ally targeting potential of it, but we'll have to see what actually happens. It's also interesting just how much tank defensive cooldowns were buffed this expansion. It was a really solid multifaceted strengthening, and when we consider the amount of single targeting healing tools jobs like Astro have been given going into Dawntrail as well, I'm really curious to see if the content that we get is actually going to make use of all of those cooldowns, because in the past it hasn't quite been the case that upgrades meant that the content would hit much faster. Okay, so you've been watching all of the altered skills, new abilities, and additional traits here on the screen while I've been yapping to fulfill all of your theory crafting needs, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.